President Trump's auto tariffs are here, and that means
a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff.
countries like Mexico, Canada, Romania. Trump wants these parts to say made in the US. But moving all of this is not so simple.
What I'm about to share is going to hit a nerve. General Motors has just taken a staggering $5 billion hit. That's billion, with a capital B. And the punchline? It all comes down to tariffs that were sold to us as a shield for American jobs. Instead of protecting workers, these policies have pushed plants from Michigan to Ontario into shutdown mode. Nearly 50,000 employees are staring at termination notices, uncertain about how they'll put food on the table. I've covered autos for decades. This meltdown is unprecedented, and here's why it matters. What happened to GM isn't simply about one company's setback. It's a warning shot for every automaker on this continent. Ford, Stellantis, Toyota, Honda, none of them are immune. And if the dominoes do start to fall, the fallout won't be abstract numbers on a corporate balance sheet. It will show up in the invoice for the next SUV, in the lease payment for the next pickup, in the sticker price families wrestle with at the dealership. Remember those promises made not long ago? Leaders swore up and down that tariffs would be the magic wand that brought American manufacturing roaring back.
But if you make the auto industry bigger, better, stronger, you don't have to worry about Detroit. It'll be very good. It'll come by its own. That would be non-artificial. That would be the way to do it, right? You make the auto industry thrive, bring it back to where it was 50, 60 years ago. You can do that too.
To many, it sounded like a clean and simple solution. Add tariffs, jobs return, factories thrive. But here's the part of the story they left out, and the cost of that omission is staggering. Back in April, Washington imposed a punishing 25% tariff on imported car parts. Practically overnight, GM's accountants realized they were staring down disaster. By the time CEO Mary Barra addressed investors, she had to deliver a gut punch. One government decision had slashed as much as $5 billion off GM's earnings forecast. Now think about $5 billion in real-world terms. With that amount, GM could build 10 state-of-the-art factories across the Midwest. They could pay the salaries of more than 100,000 workers for a full year. Instead, that cash evaporated into thin air because of tariffs. Money gone before it could fuel growth. And the reality is, this is only Act 1 of a much nastier play. Here's why. Modern vehicles are global machines. A Chevy Silverado isn't stitched together mostly from American or Canadian-made parts anymore. Roughly 40% of the components come from overseas, which means every assembly line in GM's portfolio had a bullseye painted on it the moment tariffs hit. Take something mundane, a steering knuckle. Pre-tariff, it was $28. After tariffs, $36. That same creeping cost is repeated across some 30,000 unique parts that go into building each car or truck. By the time an American family drives a new GM vehicle off the lot, there's an extra $3,000 to $3,200 baked into the cost. And make no mistake, GM has no intention of absorbing that blow. That bill goes straight to the consumers. But here's the cruel irony. These tariffs, supposedly about saving jobs, are doing the exact opposite. Factory Zero in Detroit, once touted as the centerpiece of America's manufacturing revival, sent home 200 workers on April 11th. The official excuse? Softer customer demand. The truth visible to even the floor workers? Soaring expenses. Ontario felt the sting next. GM's Ingersoll facility, a crucial supplier for cross-border production chains, was mothballed until October. Another 1,200 workers out. Meanwhile, in Oshawa, the overnight truck shift vanished without warning, taking 700 jobs along with it. It's a grim chain reaction. Fewer vehicles built, fewer workers paid, fewer paychecks circulating in local economies. And the collateral damage didn't stop at the plant gates. In Michigan, a cafe owner told me nearly half his breakfast crowd disappeared overnight because his customers, GM employees, no longer had shifts to show up for. His coffee pots and grills are still hot, but the seats are empty. In Indiana, a family-run auto parts shop is considering laying off half its staff. These aren't corporate casualties. These are family businesses that survived the recessions of the 80s, the oil shocks, even the pandemic. Yet this time, the squeeze is more suffocating. For decades, the American worker was told globalization was the enemy. Cheap overseas labor, cheap parts, jobs shipped away. Now, in a cruel twist, we're seeing what happens when the pendulum swings back too far the other way. Tariffs were designed as shields. Instead, they're acting as sledgehammers. And just when you think the picture couldn't get uglier, there's the electric vehicle problem. GM has poured billions into its Ultium battery program. The math was already tight. They needed to sell 100,000 electric Silverados just to break even. Then Congress yanked the $7,500 electric vehicle credit. At the same time, tariffs spiked the cost of battery minerals like lithium and nickel. Result? The economics collapsed. GM's projections plummeted from 100,000 EV sales to maybe 65,000 this year. So what happens to the unsold units? Rows of $45,000 trucks covered in plastic, baking under the summer sun at Factory Zero. Their batteries degrading as they sit idle. It's like watching piles of cash melt into dust. And this is where the story takes a darker turn. This crisis isn't just balance sheets and sales forecasts. It's pulling at the very threads holding organized labor together. The United Auto Workers Union in the US is hailing tariffs as proof that finally someone is putting domestic jobs first. Across the border, Unifor in Canada is furious. They accuse GM of sacrificing Canadian jobs just to curry favor with American politicians. The result? Union brothers and sisters who once walked the same picket lines can barely stand in the same room. I've sat in halls where solidarity held for generations. Today, half the room mutters, "Cut these tariffs," while the other half clenches fists in defense of them. This division only benefits one side, the corporations. While workers fight amongst themselves, GM and its peers cut costs quietly in the background. And it's not just GM anymore. Stellantis, maker of Chrysler and Dodge, is bracing for nearly 1,000 layoffs in Indiana and Michigan. Volvo is preparing to slash 1,000 jobs in Pennsylvania and Virginia because customers refuse to stomach $180,000 for trucks that once cost $165,000. Overseas, GM's Korean operations, which ship almost 90% of their production here, are quietly predicting a shutdown. It stirs memories of GM's 2017 exit from Australia. One day, autos rolling off lines, the next day, factories empty. Suppliers are imploding too. An Ontario mid-tier supplier admitted losing $1.2 million in a single week because of a snafu in customs documentation. Every border crossing adds new tariff risks. And think about how convoluted the system is. A piston might cross from Mexico into the US, back into Mexico, and into the US yet again before final assembly. Each crossing carries tariff risk. It's a nightmare of inefficiency. So what now? Behind the curtains, GM has mapped out 3 survival scenarios. In the best-case scenario, raw materials and parts from South America and Mexico resume smoothly by summer's end. The plants hum again, if only at razor-thin margins. In the mid-level outlook, new tariffs slam electronics from Japan and Korea, pushing the cost curve even higher. Utilization of factories plummets. The credit rating agencies start flashing red lights, and nervous shareholders begin revolting. And then the nightmare scenario, the one no one at GM dares speak of too loudly. Imagine China cutting off the flow of rare earth elements. The Ultium battery program halts. Entire plants across Michigan and Ontario go dark. Workers idling not for weeks, not for months, but conceivably years. That's what's so maddening about this moment. Tariffs weren't pitched as blunt instruments, but as precision tools to reroute prosperity homeward. Yet what we're staring at isn't revitalization, it's devastation. Instead of headlines about factory reopenings, we have 50,000 families wondering how to pay their mortgage. Instead of boasting about job creation, politicians are ducking microphones, offering no solutions, just finger-pointing. Even former President Trump dismissed GM's crisis by saying, "They made their choices." Easy rhetoric for cable news, but no comfort for thousands of families with grocery bills piling up. And if it all feels eerily familiar, that's because we've seen this cycle before. Politicians making lofty promises, industries crumbling under unintended consequences, and working people left to suffer in silence. This isn't a movie playing out in distant boardrooms. This is real, and it's happening now. Doesn't it feel like we've seen this play out before? Bold political promises, unexpected consequences, and hard-working families left holding the bag. Tariffs were sold as the silver bullet to rescue manufacturing. Yet today, we're staring at a $5 billion crater in GM's finances, plants standing idle, and communities wondering what future, if any, still exists for one of America's proudest industries. So let me ask you this, are these policies creating real opportunities for American workers, or are they accelerating the decline of an industry that built the middle class? If you were sitting in GM's boardroom right now, what call would you make? Hold tight and pray for a rebound, or cut deep to keep the company alive? I want to hear your perspective. Drop your thoughts in the comments, especially if you work in autos or know someone on the front lines. Tell us what's happening on the ground where you live. And if this breakdown opened your eyes, hit that subscribe button, because this story is no one-off headline. The car industry touches every single one of us, whether we see it in our paychecks, our neighborhoods, or the price tag on our next ride.